stories to lift each other, give hope to push us further, and encourage one another. Behind the scenes beauty.
Sam Fine is indeed a living legend. Sam is one of the first black men to be a spokesman for a major cosmetic brand, including Revlon, CoverGirl, and Fashion Fair.
Being creative makeup director at Fashion Fair, is a very different position than having been a spokesperson. I get to use all my talents, all my assets. I get to suggest products that I think we should work on. I get to, suggest photographers, scout models. And so having the opportunity to do a collection, that is an artist's dream.
He has worked with almost every celebrity in Hollywood, from Vanessa Williams, Queen Latifah, Halle to Cynthia Erivo, and that's just to name a few. He also came out with a book entitled Fine Beauty, and he also had a companion DVD that would be the holy grail for makeup artists everywhere. Sam Fine is proof that there is no limit to your success if you do the work. And you are tuned in to another episode of Behind the Scenes Beauty. This man has already ran me through it, and I do not know if I am prepared for this interview coming up. I have with me, he is a living legend. He is a makeup artist to the stars. He has his own book. He is many things. He's a spokesperson. He's on every show doing makeovers. He is the amazing, in the flesh, Sam Fine.
That was lovely.
I tried.
And I'm here. With you.
Listen, y'all don't even want to know.
Don't start.
Y'all don't even want to know.
Schedules happen. We work unpredictable hours, unpredictable schedules.
True.
So I'm thrilled to be here now.
I'm happy you're here now. You know what's funny? And I tell people, Behind the Scenes Beauty started out with mostly trying to put focus on the artists, not so much the celebrities, which I appreciate the celebrities, but the artists are the hardest to book.
Because we
we
don't create our own schedules.
That's true.
At a moment's notice, I have friends who ask to visit, or when can we hang out? And my schedule is so unpredictable because we're a servant to our clients.
That is true. So I will let you have it. But it doesn't matter, because we're going to focus on the right now.
And I'm here now.
And you are here now.
Yes.
So Sam, thank you for finally doing it. I researched you. I know you're from Chicago.
Very good.
And listen, I know you moved to New York. Yes, you moved to New York when you were 17.
I did. Fell on my tail. Moved back when I was 18 and moved to New York for good when I was 19.
When you were 19. So you've been here since you were 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I studied. I also know who your first client is. Your first celebrity client was Naomi.
Yes.
I also studied that you were you assisted Fran Taylor.
Fran
Cooper.
Yep.
And also
the late Kevin Aucoin.
Yes. So first, I want to ask, because assisting is such a lost art. I don't know if people feel the need to assist anymore. What were some of the pivotal things you got from working with Kevin Aucoin and Fran Cooper?
First of all, thank you for doing the research, because you do these lovely interviews. I do a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, and I like starting kind of from the middle. Yeah. Because if I have to talk about me being an illustrator from Chicago and I moved to New York to go to school, it takes time away. And I do think that these are stories that not only have been told, but they're also stories that are so true to a very specific time. So having a portfolio, having an agent, hitting the streets, testing with photographers to get your work together to present to magazines. These are very old stories. I grew up without the internet.
But they're still very valuable, though.
Valuable
because
to whom?
These new people don't realize the ways that how blessed they are.
Yeah, and I didn't understand how blessed my parents were. I only looked at them like, see how great things are today. So it's when your mom and dad are talking about, I had to travel so far to get to school, and education was such a luxury for us because we fought for this. It doesn't make them appreciate it. It didn't make me appreciate it anymore. So I do feel like some of these stories are a bit archaic.
They are a bit archaic, but I still think there are people that are history buffs that do appreciate it.
I hear that. And that's why I'm here talking about it.
Yeah.
And I can talk about the challenges of having to create a portfolio and to drop it off and deal with messenger fees and the house of portfolio and getting your name inscribed in a portfolio and the feeling
and trying to get it back when they had it too long.
Oh my goodness. I had like 2 or 3 books because you just don't know. You're so scared that it's going to get lost.
Right.
Now you're just a click away from seeing an artist's work. It's really challenging to tell the story and talk about hardships and ask the youth to
sympathize when they don't even understand what that is.
So I don't expect that, but when you talk about assisting, it being a lost art, because the moment that the younger artists have an opportunity to work on a fashion show where Naomi and Christy and Linda are, they may feel the success when all I felt was that I was on a journey at the very beginning of my career.
Okay.
I think the idea of...
So you didn't feel the I made it moment?
Absolutely not.
Really?
You're in the room. You're just in the room.
True.
How often have you been in the room? Did you feel like you made it?
No, I definitely didn't feel like I made it.
But you feel like you're connecting.
But I felt blessed that I felt that I was in the vicinity of what I was trying to get to.
Totally. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. Assisting Kevin Aquan was huge. Assisting Fran Cooper, a legend in the industry, assisting her was such a joy. I really just kind of sat in that joy to be able to assist Gianna. These were artists, Black artists, Fran Cooper, Gianna, who were working for mainstream publications like Elle magazine and had covers and editorial in a way that many artists of color hadn't achieved that yet. So what was wonderful about assisting Fran and assisting Kevin was that I had an opportunity to watch how they held the room, how they organized their artists, how they were voices, between the designer, between the models, between the hair and makeup artists, and running a show is a very challenging thing to do. So I learned how to be a spokesperson for myself through them. You know, when Fran would ask for certain things or Gianna would ask for certain things, the beauty of assisting for me is that you don't have to hold the responsibility of working with that client. You get a chance to take everything in, from the stylist to the photographer who directs the shoot, who has something to say and what is being heard from whom, all of those things. I mean, you work at the View, so you see everything from production on down to editing. And I think that is such a valuable experience.
It is.
So I'm just taking it in. So for me, when I think about my assistants, Valente Frazier.
Having the opportunity to assist Sam Fine in the beginning of my career was a dream come true for me. To be able to study and observe his skill and work ethic firsthand was an invaluable experience for me, and it has shaped my career and artistry in an undeniable way.
Ernesto Casillas, Sir John.
Hey guys, it's Sir John, and I'm here to celebrate Sam Fine. He's not just one of the most amazing makeup artists that the planet has ever seen. He revolutionized the way we look at Black beauty. He's the original brand and as a makeup artist. He's been my brother since day one. I remember going to his master class. He's always taught me so much about sending flowers, sending note cards, how to talk to agents, what it's like to be a Black person in this business and stand up for your Black clients, Black women especially. He loves Black women and all he does. And he does it so eloquently and so beautifully. I'm proud to know him. I'm proud to have been taught by him and going to the Sam Fine School of everything. I even had to sleep on his couch, in my early 20s when I was assistant, and he's always just been there for me. And what I love most about Sam is his heart. So shout out to Sam Fine. I love this video. I'm sure everyone's giving Sam his flowers while he's here.
I hope that I've given them the ability to dream, to not only just be in the room, but to advocate for themselves and for others, to not just be a great talent, because I think that's the easy part, but to be able to read the room, which I think is in such quotations because it means so many different things.
But it's so important.
It's so important because your opinion isn't, when you talk about the training of an assistant, your opinion doesn't matter.
Right.
Their opinion may not matter. You know, sometimes you are literally just hired to do a job and to take direction. Other teams are very collaborative. So you gotta know where you're walking, what room you're walking into.
Right.
When I worked with Scavullo, who's very, very loving and very kind and very complimentary. Other photographers look at what you do as a service and they grade it. Patrick de Marcellier would say, you know, in French, like, you know, how beautiful your work was. And that was great. You know, so sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't.
Right.
It doesn't make your work any less valuable. It just means that the level of communication is different. So you're fortunate enough to have a space that you go to often enough to learn what the language is. And when Fran would bring me with her, I felt like I understood that language. I assisted her. I worked with LaBelle. I worked with Patti LaBelle, and that's how I met Patti. It was a reunion, and I was doing her background singers. And then I had the pleasure of doing Sarah Dash, and Patti turned around and she was like, who did their makeup? And people are always noticing. You don't always have to stand out, but you do have to be concerned about your work. And hopefully, when people talk about assisting, you really do get a wonderful bird's eye view to everything that's going on, the struggles and the triumphs.
That's true. Okay, because with you assisting Kevin Aucoin, and his work is very transformative. But yours is very true to who the person is. Yours is more so a beauty enhancement. When I look at your work, I don't feel like the person is lost. Not to say but I say that because I grew up watching Kevin Aucoin doing these makeovers on Oprah where he was transforming people fully into these whole...
Diana Ross.
Into these whole other people. And so how did you find your voice? How did you depict, like, no, this is the Sam Fine way of doing things and not feeling that pressure to do what you've seen because this works. It's working well for Kevin Aucoin. It's working well for Fran.
I take that analogy into the kitchen.
Okay.
If you're cooking, there's only one way to do a cake. You have to have certain elements for it to rise, right? You talk color, you talk styling, you talk cut. There are such specifics to that, you can't make that your own.
Gotcha.
There are ingredients to this that you need.
Okay.
And I think that having Fran as an influence, having Kevin Aucoin as an influence, having my mentor, Joseph Hampton, as an influence, you take that and that's your in your mixing bowl, right?
Right.
And so what you come up with is uniquely yours.
Okay.
It's your signature. Everyone learned how to write cursive in grammar school, in high school, but your signature is your own. And I think, of course, I teach a lot, so I've often heard students say, like, how do you find a signature? Your signature is doing what you love. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that clients specifically, I don't think that you look to work with certain clients. I think you attract who you are.
True.
So when I think about timeless beauty, I think of Vanessa Williams, I think of Iman, I think of Naomi. No matter what trend they choose to partake in, there's still a classic element that I can look back at 10 years ago at Iman going to the Met with Gianfranco Ferré and still feel like it can live today.
Yeah.
And
can
that's
live today.
But exactly, but that's who I am.
She could go today and it would still be flawless.
But that's who I am. And that begins at home. That begins with my mom. That begins with my 3 sisters. And those beauty icons that are early to you. I think you take that with you along your road. So when I think about what Kevin was doing in transformation, there is definitely a brow and a contour and a cheek and dividing the face in sections in a beautiful way. And I'm able to bring that to women of color who wear makeup so easily, compared to general market. You can do a ton of makeup on a woman of color, a Black woman especially, and it reads as nothing. And so that was, to me, like, even more permission to even go further. So I look at what Kevin has done, I look at what Fran has done, I look at what Joseph has done, and every other makeup artist in the magazines whose work was being displayed, and you find your position. And that becomes your signature. I was blessed to be able to enter into the industry at a time when makeup was pivotal. It was changing. Brows were becoming, very much a thing. Lashes were coming in. Contour was very popular. So these were things that I had a chance to introduce to Mary J. Blige, to Deborah Cox, to Brandy, because I was working with them at the beginning of their careers.
Right.
So timing and alignment have been gifts to me in my career.
Okay, so when was it, because we were talking earlier and you said when you were in those rooms, you just felt like you were in those rooms. When in your career did you realize, like, oh, I have made it. Like I have come up on something here?
I think you have to start with what's your goal as an artist.
Okay. Well, what was your goal as an artist?
To work in editorial, to have my work displayed on the pages of the magazines like I had watched Fran and Kevin. That was my goal. Along the way, I think you are met with a lot of distractions. And music videos was a distraction for me at the time. I did not, it was a job.
Right. And the money was good, especially in your time.
Yeah, and the money was great.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at that as being a launch pad for me, but it gave me an audience almost to myself.
Yeah.
To work with Mary J. Blige since her second single, to work with Brandy during her second single, to work with Faith Evans on her first single, to work with Deborah Cox on her first single. These were transformative opportunities, even though I hadn't gotten to where I wanted to go.
Right.
And I don't know that I fully appreciated music videos.
Right.
It was me and Hype and June Ambrose and Misa Hilton. And we were just doing what we do.
Right.
With greater hopes of kind of crossing over. Little did we know that we would still work with Mary and Queen Latifah and Brandy, even at this age.
Right.
Because they kind of changed their careers. So it's really interesting when you talk about, knowing when you made it. You'll find yourself in rooms that you may not feel that you've made it, but you are contributing to something that you will look back and feel like, wow, I didn't really appreciate all that I was bringing to this industry at that time. I was just doing my job.
Right.
So you get these great aha moments. Sometimes you reflect on them. Sometimes they happen in an instant. And I can tell you where I was when I called my agent on a payphone and was booked for my first Revlon job with Veronica Webb. And I remember that so clearly because it was something I always wanted. It was a beauty campaign.
Yeah.
It was, these are the jobs that they only hire Fran and Kevin for.
Right.
So to me, I was comparing myself to them. And if these are the kind of jobs that they're getting, and this is what I want. See, they weren't on the video music scene.
Gotcha.
They were on the editorial and beauty scene. And so that was one of my first big moments that I felt like I had arrived. But little did I know that I was taking steps towards arriving all the while.
Yeah.
Sam Fine is literally one of the leading makeup artists in this industry, not just Black beauty, but beauty as a whole. I remember when I first started doing makeup, and his book was one of the first books that I grabbed. And not only was it beautiful, the cover was stunning. The cover was spectacular. That's what made you grab it. But then the way that it was illustrated, the way that he broke down everything, it was literally paint by numbers. Like his sculpting technique and how he taught you how to contour and highlight and, you know, bring things in, and the way that he broke down everything, all those techniques are still being used today.
Okay, so how did you even come up with the idea of doing a book?
Kevin Kwan had released a book, Bobby Brown had a book, and I looked at the contents and what was being offered. And I felt like, wow, you know, I'm working with Vanessa Williams now, Patti LaBelle, Naomi Campbell, Iman, Tyra, and I can balance this with what they're offering.
Because quickly, how far in your career did you decide to come up with the book? Like
I was 27. I was 27 when I did my book. I was 21 when I started my career.
Okay, so that's...
So yeah, I've always had a really early start.
Gotcha.
And that's been a blessing. And so when Kevin Kwan, you know, had a book and Bobby Brown had a book, and I felt that one page or one model wasn't enough to represent a community. And what I had been working on, the jobs that I the photos, the assignments, they rivaled what Kevin and Bobby were putting in their books. I said, well, why not?
Right.
And Patti LaBelle had a photo shoot with for her autobiography, and I talked to her editor and said, hey, I've created these storyboards. You know, we didn't have computers then. So I created these storyboards, and I said, I'd love to have a meeting and drop them off for you to see. I'd like to propose doing a beauty book. And in less than a week, I had an offer.
Oh, wow.
So it was once again, it's great timing.
Right.
It's great timing.
Okay, so Sam, one thing I'll say about you, for me personally, I did this with Oscar, I did this with Checky. I normally would have started the interview out with this, but I'll start it now. Because as an artist coming into the game, we did not have a lot of representation. I hate to talk about this in a way because I don't know if I'm pulling it from just where I started, but I don't really remember feeling before then a whole lot of celebrity hair and makeup people. You know what I'm saying? And I don't, as a hairstylist, I didn't know a lot of makeup artists, but I always knew who a Sam Fine was. And you have an elegance and a grace about yourself that I can tell that is a legacy that passes on through the way I see Sir John does in his work.
Such a compliment.
It's the way he carries himself, the way he dressed. You've always been pristine and just this aura of glamour that you present, that you pass on to the people, which makes them want to be a part of it. How have you acknowledged being in the space of the black man that sort of, because I don't think I've really ever had the opportunity to talk to anybody that's really forged a way. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody that I've talked to, they've done some stuff in their own right. Whoopi was one of those people. Obviously. But for you, which is more relative to the stuff that I work on and that I do, for you to have these opportunities, for you to be like, we don't really know of black artist that was on television showing how to do makeup and do, on these talk shows and stuff. And here comes you. How does that resonate with you? Do you ever sit back and think like, oh, wow.
First of all, thank you. Those words are so beautiful. Thank you.
No, it's true.
Timing is everything. I stand on the shoulders of Roxana Floyd and Reggie Wells and Al Grundy and John Kelman Greer and Quiet Fire. Quiet Fire used to work with Whitney. Reggie obviously used to work with Oprah and Destiny's Child and Aretha Franklin and Janet Jackson and Britney Spears were her clients at the same time.
Right.
So I always knew what was going on. I always knew what was going on behind the scenes. And such an appreciation for Roxana and Reggie, you know, my brothers and sisters in this industry. But Kevin Aquan, when he became a celebrity, when he was on Sex and the City, when he was on the Oprah Show, when he had 2 books that were bestsellers, he ushered in a new era for makeup artists. Bobby Brown, you know, was releasing cosmetics around the same time. Laura Mercier, Francois Nars. And so I looked at what they were doing and I realized that I was doing the same thing. I had dedicated my career to beautifying women of color. I had started out, you know, working in general market, working with Scavullo. I have Cosmo covers. I worked with Bjork and Brooke Shields. But I knew that there was going to be something more purposeful for me directing my time and talent towards women of color. And I had no idea that Queen Latifah would be an Oscar nominated actress.
Right.
I never knew that Mary J. Blige would be an Oscar nominated actress.
Right.
I never knew that Brandy would go on to the kind of success in television and film. I didn't. You know, we just all grew up together. You know, Deborah Cox recently being inducted into the Hall of Fame, Canada's Hall of Fame. So you just don't know when you're going to be at the right place at the right time. Right. And I didn't want to waste my success. Those 10 years were so pivotal for me. To work with Naomi, Tyra, Vanessa, Veronica, Patty, all at the same time, and to be able to usher in a different look for women of color. It's all timing. And so I don't just credit myself, I balance that with being at the right place at the right time and being able to have the taste and the signature to add my flair to a time that was changing.
True. Yeah, I mean, and I definitely, I remember Reggie Wells. I remember Roxana Floyd too. But there still was something about you that was a little special that sort of took it a little step further than what they did.
I don't think that I had the baggage that they had. They fought for rates, and I took rates to another place.
Gotcha.
You know, when Revlon, I remember fighting with agents. I remember going to white agencies and you know, having an all-black clientele, they didn't care.
Yeah.
Oh, you work with Patti LaBelle, good for you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm making 6 figures.
Right.
They pay attention to money.
Yeah.
And I found my first agent, and it was a really quiet agent, very small. I loved Gene Owen. And at that time, we were growing together.
How long into your career did you get an agent?
I managed myself for a while.
Okay.
I think that's very important for you to learn the business and to be able to ask for certain things. And I finally took my work to an agent that had no one in a similar field.
Right.
Most of her artists were working in catalog, you know, making great money, but none of them had celebrities. Celebrities were also something very new to a lot of people. I remember, you know, I just want to go back and touch on something you said before. You said that you hadn't seen an artist like myself. A lot of people reading the magazines thought I was white. You know, it's Sam Fine. It's not a very traditional black name.
Right.
So I remember working with Janet Jackson and her coming down. I was doing a test to go on tour with her, and she came down and she was like, Sam Fine. And you could always tell when people were surprised that you were black.
Right.
And it was almost funny because you only had the credits in the magazine.
Right.
And of course, television shows, but those are for consumers.
Yeah.
Celebrities, you know, were only looking at your work and your credits. And not many of us had positioned ourselves in such a way. I was working with Iman, and Naomi Campbell was pulling me into German Vogue, and Tyra was taking me to Elle magazine and different things. We had not gotten that alliance, that opportunity to show our talent in these environments. It wasn't that it didn't exist. Obviously, Reggie has worked with Oprah and done a majority, shared with Derek Rutledge now, but he started O Magazine with her, started at her show, working with Aretha, having done such amazing work. But it wasn't until, I think music was a huge connector. I think music videos changed the way we saw beauty for women of color, especially. Yes. Now you have Mary J. Blige on the cover of Essence in a blonde lace front, holding fur up. You had Alec Weck in black and white as a top model, and that we weren't really sure about her beauty because as an African and speaking to African Americans, I don't know how we feel about the way they're displaying her beauty, but when Essence had her on a cover, it changed the way we saw her. And working with Essence Magazine, working with Mickey Garth Taylor as a covers and beauty editor, these are pivotal moments that you have a chance to flex. They introduced me to Monique. So on her Oscar run, I had the pleasure of working with her and years before. So it's not just being at the right place at the right time. It's knowing when you have these opportunities, these moments to make a difference. Right. And I've always saw more from myself than people saw from me. Right. I didn't just want to be a working artist. I think that's easy to do. No, right. I think to be an artist who works with celebrities, as you well know, brings a great level of stress to a situation.
Yes, it does.
They have their own opinion.
Yes, it does.
You have your opinion.
Right.
The editor has their opinion. The stylist has their
whoever, whatever it is. Everybody got some input.
And you got to know how to manage that.
Yeah.
And these are not easy things.
Yeah.
I talk to Danessa Myricks all the time, and she was like, Sam, I never wanted to work with celebrities. And I don't think it's held her back because she's all about education and her product line is amazing.
It's amazing.
But when you talk about notoriety, the notoriety really came from Patti LaBelle thanking me on stage. Yeah. Vanessa Williams bringing me on the Keenan Ivory Weigh-In show as a guest. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Those things are pivotal.
Yeah.
And that speaks to my ability to be seen by more.
Okay, so let's talk about being seen by huge brands and companies and starting to be spokesperson. Who was the first makeup brand you were like their celebrity spokesperson?
Revlon.
Okay.
But once again, I worked with Veronica Webb, the first Black model signed to a cosmetic contract. She was signed to Revlon. And Fran was working with Veronica, she was working with Revlon, she was working with Cindy, she was working with Claudia, and so she was working with Revlon. And so when Veronica became a spokesperson, and she wrote the foreword for my book, Fine Beauty, and she wrote one of the most touching things she wrote was she said, I opened the door for Sam and he rearranged the furniture. And when you go in and you talk to the same people who are making the decisions about hiring the models, those will most often be the same people who decide who they're going to hire as a spokesperson.
Okay, so the Revlon deal, that wasn't like specified for women of color though.
It was.
Oh, it was?
Color Style.
Okay.
It was line Gail O'Neill, Veronica Webb, and Alanka, I believe. But they were models for the brand, but this was a brand that was specifically developed for women of color.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did Revlon, you've done Fashion Fair.
Now the entire line is vegan. Sam Fine is Fashion Fair's makeup global ambassador.
With the development of 16 Fashion Fair skin flex sticks with names like Honey Child and Fine Chestnut, these creamy, buildable formulas come in shades made for richly melanated skin tones.
In his tutorials, he highlights products and gives tips on applying them.
A lot of people ask, what's your favorite way to apply foundation? I enjoy using a foundation brush, fingers, or sponge. As a makeup artist, you're always looking for the perfect foundation. You're looking for a good cream to powder, which to me is a liquid alternative. You get a foundation that dries down to a beautiful powdery finish, and you may not even need powder. So that's at the lightest spectrum of coverage. Being able to build with a stick foundation, complementing that with pressed powder and loose powder, you can get it all here.
You've done CoverGirl.
Yeah, I've done CoverGirl twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cue the lips, cue the eyes, cue the beauty of you. Meet makeup artist Sam Fine for CoverGirl. So Sam, if you want your makeup to look fresh, even at the end of a long day.
Queen Collection All Day Flawless Foundation. It's concealer, powder, and foundation all in one.
So just a little makeup gives you everything you need to stay fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
That's my All Day Flawless Foundation. Up your beauty queue right here at covergirl.com/beautyqueue.
When you work with multidimensional celebrities, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I don't think that I work with an EGOT. I've worked with Jennifer Hudson, but I haven't worked with her since she's gotten her EGOT status.
Gotcha.
But when you work with multidimensional talents
That are in so many fields.
yes, you crave it yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be a makeup artist. I have a voice. I can teach. I can do a book. I can write. I can do all of these things. And so you seek them out. You seek them out and you ask people, why not me?
Right. Okay. So when you were taking on these projects and you were becoming the spokesperson, was there ever a time that you had to like really fight for money as far as that was concerned?
I'm still fighting for money.
Really?
No matter what you're doing, you're fighting for
with
money.
your full resume, you still feel like you have to.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I mean, you're talking about brands that are speaking to women of color, and there's always going to be a lesser budget.
Right. Why do you think that? Why do you think that is? And especially when you do the research and statistics, Black women spend more. So I never understand. I worked with other brands in the past, and they never had a budget.
But we're not
ever.
a part of their main audience. Their business isn't built on us.
True.
We buy into the industry and we buy disproportionately, but we're not the business that they are built on.
True.
So when they create these brands like a Color Style or Maybelline Shades of You or Queen Collection even, there's not always the same budget. There's not always the same photo shoots. There's always, there may not be the same buy-in to marketing and advertising because these are brands that are supplemental to the main.
Gotcha.
And I do understand that. So there's always a fight for money.
Right.
But, I'm always able to temper that with how much exposure am I going to get? What title am I going to walk away with?
Right.
Now I still, regardless of what I've been paid, I'm still able to say that I was the first African-American spokesperson for Revlon CoverGirl and the first creative makeup director for Fashion Fair.
That's right.
Those resume pieces are priceless.
They are, and worth it. Okay, so why have you all been a spokesperson? Why haven't you come out with a Sam Fine line yourself? That's one of the biggest things I wanted to ask. Vanessa, the late AJ Crimson, who's been on the show. Why hasn't Sam Fine come out with Sam Fine Cosmetics?
I haven't seen a contract that I've liked.
Okay.
It's been offered. Many of the contracts are just not something that I would say yes to. So I haven't met a contract that I would like.
Gotcha.
But also starting a business, finding money. I talked to Danessa. I would always talk to AJ.
Yeah.
And we were always on the circuit. If anybody's gone to the makeup show or IMATs or any of the appearances that many of us do in teaching, I talk to them and it's not an easy job.
Yeah, no.
It's something that I've always thought of and just haven't really, it's interesting because you talk about having done a book and having been a spokesperson, and it's easy working for other people. It's easy telling people what to do and how they should do it, and you should, speak to the audience this way, or we should be doing a tour and a pop-up store at Essence Music Festival, or these events that are specific to us. But when you have to do it on your own, and it's not something like a book that you put out and you're done.
Right.
This is something that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life, God willing. And I've dragged my feet. I've put my toe in the water. I've gotten as far as developing shades and formulas, and then just kind of put it down. Something else comes up, and I think differently. And I ultimately have to have my heart in it.
Gotcha.
It has to be something that I truly do not want to put down. And the timing. You have to realize that I've been doing this for over 30 years. And so within the past 10 to 15 years, watching the
market
advent of the influencer,
right,
and how easy it is for them now to come out with brands and launch product. And I just felt like, wow, I don't want to confuse the consumer with my wealth of knowledge and experience with that of someone who is a YouTube sensation.
Right.
And that's not to take anything away from them, but
I was waiting.
And I was waiting for the pendulum to swing a bit. And I feel that that's happening now. I feel like, a lot of the direct-to-consumer brands are settling down. We're starting to see a difference between the longevity of artists who are committed to their audience, not just doing videos at home, but doing tours. When I look at Danessa and how hard she works, that type of commitment is, I don't take it lightly.
Right.
And so timing is everything for me.
Gotcha.
I've got to feel that it's something that I want to do, not that it's something that I should do.
Gotcha.
It's like forcing someone to do an album, or you're an Oscar winner. What's next?
Right.
Halle won an Oscar and then she was in Bond.
Right.
People thought that wasn't something, becoming of a Oscar winner.
Yeah.
But hey,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You got to do something that you feel you're called to do.
Right.
Not something because
people
everyone says, yes,
exactly.
people expect it.
And like, this is what you should be doing.
Because that's when you wind up doing something that doesn't really resonate.
Gotcha.
And so you've just done it.
Because I know you get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Like, when's the hair coming up?
And I don't want to disappoint my audience.
Right.
I don't think that, once you do a product, like, my book, appearances, things of that nature, I enjoy education. I feel called to it. I've always felt called to it. So it has to be a calling. Because once you do a consumer product, you have to be able to want to satisfy. You have to want to be a servant to this woman. You have to want to read the comments and say, wow, they didn't like this one. They want this. So
Right.
I guess this is what I need to make. You're a servant to this audience now.
Gotcha.
And I want to feel that calling deeply. I don't want to just do it for the money. I don't want to just do it because I should be doing it. I want to do it because it's something that resonates with me.
Okay, so going back to what I was saying about you and this essence of glamour that you present, where did that come from? Like, is that something you grew up, somebody influenced you when you were younger? Because like when you step on the scene, there is this air of Sam, fine.
While I sit here in a sweatsuit.
No, but that's so that you can relate to
balance.
the little people.
Balance.
Yes.
No, it's balance. It's balance.
That's exactly what it is.
My mom always raised us to look like what you represent.
Okay.
You cannot be in the beauty industry and not take pride in, in your appearance.
Right.
And I was always into illustration and art. And, of course, I'm like many others who were raised in a Black family and dressed up for Easter Sunday and went to church every Sunday and dressed up. I think that dressing up and grooming is kind of the respect that we show to the people who come to see us. I remember working with Patti LaBelle very early. And feeling in many ways that she raised me, because I worked with her since I was 21. And she came down one day in a Donna Karan beaded dress and jacket. And her husband said, well, I don't think it's really that big of an event. And she said, well, whoever's there will appreciate it. And I love that.
Oh, wow.
I love that. It's that ability to show up. It's the Vanessa Williams, it's the Patti LaBelle's, it's the Gladys Knights, that no matter what they do, they show up to receive. They're ready. That's just who they are. And I appreciate that. But also, it's the part of the industry that supports us. Where would we be without those women,
That's
right?
true. Yes.
You know, the women who are just like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store. I need a face.
Right.
And my mother made sure that, you know, every Sunday, you know, whether it was sewing clothes for my sisters, whether it was doing their hair, whether it was doing the minimal makeup that she did, it was a process. And I love the process. I love that journey. There is nothing more fun for me than preparing to get someone ready for the red carpet. I think that is just like, you know, now, you know, you're giving them this confidence and now they get a chance to shine.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. I enjoy it on both ends.
Okay. You told a poignant story about Patti. You've worked with Vanessa Williams for a very long time. You've also worked with her daughter, Lion Babe.
Hi, Sam. It's Jillian from Lion Babe. You know me as Jillian. You never need to call me Lion Babe. But I'm just here to celebrate you. And I'm grateful for everything you've brought to the world of beauty, but also for being in my life for such important moments like my prom and my baby's maternity shoot and my 30th birthday, and shows that have been great and successful for us. It just means a lot because you're a legend that not only have I been able to watch you work with my mom, but you've also taken the time to be in my life and support my career, which means the world. So there's just so many things. I just appreciate your character, and you're funny and charming and sassy and just a real professional, but you also know you can go any way. You can have fun, you can do something classic. Your work is just so chic and graceful and elegant and just highlights the beauty of what women are already. And you just really are like a painter because you just use these tones and just warm everything up. So I'm so grateful to have had time with you, and I hope we have many more experiences together. And yeah, I love you.
What is something that you've taken away from Vanessa? What is like a jewel that, I mean, I know it's a lot.
No, the absolute resilience. She can be asked about her reign as Miss America and answer that question with such ease and such candor. There's nothing you could do, I've never seen, anything that someone could ask her to embarrass her. And that kind of honesty, and to have had really the last laugh, to been on Broadway and, you know, Emmy nominated, Grammy nominated, you know, Save the Best for Last, you know, chart topping hits.
Just an amazing career that has spanned forever.
Yes. I think that she's having the last laugh. And so I think at the end of the day, what I've learned from her is I get to have the last laugh. You know, I may not have 1 million followers, but the followers that I have are so important and so wonderful to me. I may not have as many Vogue covers as Pat McGrath, but I have an audience that receives and loves me.
For sure.
In my community that is so important to me. So I take that, and I've learned so much from her that the work is how you show them.
Yeah, because I'm a big person in believing that, like, every person that I work with is for a reason, and they add something to my life and my existence and my journey in some way. So that's why I asked that question, because I always wonder, you know, you've had such amazing clients, so I would be remiss to not ask you something so valuable that you took away from.
I mean, when you get a chance to watch all of the things that, and I feel like, sometimes I would be angry that they would ask her so many questions or start out her interview about being the first Black Miss America and the scandal. And I'm just like, is that all you get from her?
Right.
Because now we're going to go into all the work that she's done. Now we're going to tackle all the awards and the longevity of the career that she's had and continues to have. And I think that is what sustains you. Because if you're constantly looking for the industry to give you these awards and to pat you on your back, you're going to be sadly mistaken.
Who you telling? And what I learned, and I tell this every time, is that for Black women especially, and I don't know if you can attest to this, is that you can be the most accomplished Black woman and so far ahead in your field and still be disrespected in such ways that to the general audience, you would think like, because there are people that know certain people that I work with and they're like, oh, they can do this and they can do that. And I'd be like, you'd be surprised how disrespected they are at times.
Or you're pitching a project, or you want to see a project come to light that you're not in, or you want to produce it, or direct it, or change your position as from what they know you to be to something that you want to be known as, and how limited those opportunities are. You have to fight every step of the way.
Yeah.
And so I've always looked at Vanessa as being one of the loveliest, one of the most beautiful fighters I know. And I watch her doing these interviews, and I watch how she so beautifully speaks about her life. And it is always a joy to just watch her reign, watch her win. And I think we're watching, a renaissance right now. We're watching Quinta, Brunson, Shirley Ralph.
Yeah.
You're watching a lot of people of a certain age, get their awards. Angela Bassett just won a Golden Globe.
As Bevy Smith say, it gets greater later. That's
it
her,
does,
that's her mantra.
it does. And I don't think that we witness that because the industry is still built on a lot of youth. But when you have an opportunity to watch someone like Viola Davis come into her own so late in the game, it brings you hope. And especially as people of color, that sometimes you just aren't offered these opportunities until later. And so you just have to hold it with such grace.
True. Okay, so as someone that, when I've done interviews with Chucky and Morel, and they all, Oscar, they all talk about how you were so pivotal in their career. Who was your first celebrity?
My first celebrity client was Vanessa Williams.
Okay, who? Okay, the first Miss, what was it, USA?
She was Miss America.
Right. So you started out with the first Black Miss America. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I was working in a salon in Manhattan then, and the owner got asked to do a fashion show, and she couldn't do it. So I went and did this fashion show instead of her. And there was a guy there, a makeup artist, Sam Fine. Okay. He saw me doing hair, and he'd been working with Vanessa, and he knew she needed someone. I think her hairdresser just passed away. But he introduced me to her, and I was scared shitless.
Oscar and Chucky talk about how you were the introduction to a lot of the clients that they have today. I say that to give you your flowers on that, how you helped to be a blessing and you spread your blessing. But I also want to know, when we see new talent, who are some of the new artists that catches your eye and you're seeing them being the next big thing or the next known artist?
I reach out, first of all, thank you. I love Oscar, Chucky, Sir John, Valente. There's so many talented artists.
I love Valente too.
Yes.
I just gotta say that about Valente is a pivotal part of my journey. He introduced me to Kenya, which was one of those first celebrities and Iman as well.
But you got to learn that. Yeah. And if that's not a part of your experience, see, Fran gave me Patti LaBelle when she couldn't work with her. She gave Naomi my number when she wasn't able to work with her. So when you are brought into the industry with such amazing artists who are willing to open the door for you.
Yeah.
I think it's your responsibility to do the same.
Yeah.
So when, Vanessa Williams looking for a hair person, when Roberto Leon, her longtime hairdresser, had passed away, and she was looking for a hair person, and we know, as the closest people to our clients, you've worked with someone for 20, 30 years, you're as trusted as a manager.
Yeah.
So you can suggest a new person or say, hey, I think they'd be a good vibe with you. I think they'll get you.
Right.
So I think it's our responsibility.
Right.
I had taught for many years alone, done classes alone, and Rennie Vasquez, who was another sort of protege. He didn't assist me, but I saw his talent immediately and called him. And we started talking. I was able to refer Gabrielle Union to him, which he still works with her. And we were able to do a tour together. I look at Rennie, I look at Kill Pretty, Keita Moore.
Yeah.
These are kids who are out there in the streets and doing such beautiful work.
Yeah.
And Adam Burrell, I look at his work. There are so many younger artists, and I say younger in the sense that they just haven't spent a lot of time in the industry, and they haven't come. They've been around, but they're just getting their turn.
Okay.
And I watch what Keita does with Iman, and he does such a beautiful job with her. So there are some lovely, lovely Portia.
Yes.
When I think about Sam Fine, I think about many things, but what really comes to the forefront of my mind are his innumerable and legendary contributions to the beauty industry. His hands are blessed, and he has been making Black women look, feel, and exude the glamour, the beauty, the sexy that we all deserve so flawlessly. His approach to beauty is so timeless that even his archival photo shoots and magazine covers and red carpet looks are as exquisitely magnificent today as they were decades ago. His technical legacy and how he seamlessly paints skin and even carves out eye real estate has really influenced legions of makeup artists all over the world, myself included, and how to really be intentional with every single brushstroke. I have always championed my career on the divine beauty of Blackness, and Sam Fine, you are a major part of that blueprint. And for that, I thank you and I celebrate you. Bisous.
Portia is another favorite. Mally Makeup, but there's so many younger artists, and now I don't get to. I've said this to Sir John before, that I don't think that careers like mine will exist anymore.
Why do you say that?
Because we had artists who would take a chance on us. We were introduced to them by the magazine. Now, when celebrities go to the magazine, they have their full crew in tow.
Right.
They're not willing to take those chances anymore.
That's true.
So how am I going to meet Monique? How am I going to meet Mary? How am I going to meet Jack A. Harry was my first Essence cover.
Oh, wow.
So how am I going to meet these amazing celebrities if they aren't open and willing? Now, of course, Quiet Fire died. That made way for Roxana Floyd to work with Whitney Houston. But everybody's not dying looking for the next makeup artist.
Right.
Sometimes it's just the end of you all's time together.
Right.
And I introduce, people to Queen Latifah all the time. Ernesto Casillas has done her for several red carpet events. I used to share her with DeAndre Michael. He introduced me to Angela Bassett. Of course, we knew each other, but he was like, Sam, can you fill in on 911 for me? I'm about to go on tour with Mary. So we really do become interchangeable at a certain level. And you choose people, I'm sure you know this, who not only have the talent, but the temperament and personality to walk in that door and
not embarrass you.
Not embarrass you. Get out of my head. I was going to say, and not embarrass you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because it's your word and what you said. And they're going to come back to you and say, you sent this over here to me?
Yes.
Okay, so your career on paper and just talking, and another interview I saw you talk about, you were saying, you don't like to just paint, because it all comes off very glamorous, working with, Naomi as your first star, you're working with Iman, Tyra. What were some of the lows for Sam Fine? What were some moments in your career that you thought to yourself, I'm over it?
You asked me, okay, so they're not privy to this, the audience, obviously. When I arrived, we started talking about your return from Christmas vacation, and you said, I'm so happy you were able to come in. And I said, I'm not working this month.
Right.
I'm unemployed right now.
Okay.
I'm unemployed.
Right.
To know that you have a career that everyone loves, you hear that all the time. But I have nothing on the books for January.
Okay.
What does that mean? I can either remember that the phone always rings.
It always does.
We know that. But you have to stay in a constant state of knowing, right?
Right. Because whispers is like,
but right now, the truth is I'm unemployed.
Gotcha.
So when you talk about a lull, it could be this month, and I'm thinking about how much money I've spent last year, and taxes were due at the end of the year, and gosh, I'm in a deficit, and the phone isn't ringing.
Right.
I've had many moments where I've not lost a client, but moved on, transitioned from that client. I once worked with Patti LaBelle for a decade, Iman, a decade. I chose to move to LA for 7 years. That changes my clientele. So for whatever reason, times have to change. And those lulls in your career are pivotal, not because of what's coming, but because of how you choose to deal with it.
True.
That lull when I was 27 helped me create Fine Beauty. The next lull helped me to think about being a spokesperson. The downtime that we have, instead of focusing on maybe my career is over, because it very well could be.
It ain't.
I mean, hey.
It ain't.
You never know. You don't know. We look at people in this industry who've had a wonderful ride.
Right.
And then they're gone. You don't know when your time is up. Hopefully, you're in charge of saying when you choose to leave it.
Right.
Iman retired from the runway. You hope that you have that opportunity to say goodbye in your own time.
Right.
But as servants, we never know when we're going to disengage from a client.
Is there a moment where you feel like, I don't even want to do
Excuse
makeup?
me.
No, you're fine. Is there ever a moment where you feel like, I don't even want to do makeup anymore? Or is it something that you just so love that you, like, I just love doing makeup?
I never dreamed about being a makeup artist.
Okay.
So if I never did makeup again, I do feel like I have accomplished what I thought I could times 10.
Gotcha.
So I could lay my brushes down right now and be completely satisfied.
Gotcha.
I mean, everything from Gladys Knight and Shaka Khan and Aretha Franklin and Eartha Kitt, and I can lay my brushes down. Right. I can. I think what keeps me going is you guys, these shows, technology. We didn't have the ability to connect and to inspire the people out there.
Yeah.
We didn't have that before. Before it had to be a TV show or a write-up in a magazine, which were few and far between. So being able to affect change and inspire someone who might be as unemployed as I am today.
And watch.
Seriously, what were we doing during COVID where we all were unemployed collectively?
Right.
That is real.
Yeah.
So you look at that, how do you get through those tough times?
True.
But someone's gonna watch this and remember to relate to the times when the phone wasn't ringing.
Yeah.
And they didn't feel loved and thought about, and they're scrolling through someone else's page who is working and think, maybe not me, maybe I'm not talented enough, maybe I don't have the look or the personality or the aesthetics that they're looking for. Maybe this will push them through.
That's a constant battle for me.
How so though?
Well, for me, because I'm not the wig applier. Like, that has taken a whole new life. I can do it, but I don't have a strenuous resume of wigs that I apply.
Yes.
And
but do you want to?
No.
Exactly. So you're living the way you want to live.
Right.
And that isn't always popular.
Exactly. But it does take that toll where you feel like
Am I missing out on the moment?
Am I missing out on
Because
the
I'm
moment?
not doing Cardi if I'm not doing a wig.
Right.
And I'm not doing Nicki, so I'm not doing a wing liner to meet the bride. So something I'm doing might not be in the moment.
Right.
But you know what? Angela Bassett got up on that stage and accepted her Golden Globe. Right. So did so many others at the Golden Globes. Yeah. And they will probably collect an Oscar. Yeah. Niecy Nash, Viola Davis. There's so many actors who aren't looking for that.
True.
And I try to live there.
You got you.
Because what I love also loves me.
True that.
You know this.
I know that.
Look.
But that's why I wanted us to have
but
that
I'm
talk,
saying,
and
but,
I wanted to be real with that because I connected with that because I am that person, and I definitely have to have a conversation with myself all the time about not getting caught up in.
And you're not just having a conversation with you. Dare I say, you are having a conversation with your tribe.
True.
The people who pray like you, the people who talk like you, the people who think like you, to support the real thought that is here that's not up here.
Yeah.
Because this is Instagram. This is scrolling.
Yes.
This is lack. This is all of the things. Yes. Now, let's see where the wheel stops.
Yeah.
But here, going deeper, you realize it's always sustained me. Yeah. I don't have to be anything more than who I am. And it always comes. I mean, I had the absolute pleasure of stepping outside of myself and working with her, Gabriella Wilson. And it was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better situation because a lot of times we're still looking for what's comfortable. And of course, at this point in my life, I know enough to find my comfort zone, but every now and then you're gonna be asked to work with someone new. And new clients are tricky. Do they want me to hang out in the trailer? Can I do makeup there? Right. Should I sit outside? What's the protocol? And those are the kinds of things that keep you on your toes. Yeah. It's not fun. No, it's not familiar.
Nope.
But you find a rhythm for it.
You
know what I'm saying? Because you say you want newness, and you can't continue working with someone for the rest of your life, not in freelance.
That's true.
So it's another open door.
That's true. Okay, so I have this one signature question I always ask everybody, and that is, and you someone that has been so engulfed in beauty, what does Sam find beauty in?
Organization.
You are, and I am not even this person. I'm not a astrology person at all, but you are, what's your sign?
Scorpio.
A Scorpio.
Very.
I don't really believe in that.
Oh no, I think it has its coincidence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't believe in it, there are a lot of
But it's just funny that you say that because I knew once you said that that's what you were.
I can't live in a space that isn't organized.
Gotcha.
I can't think. I can't relax. When I say I have to, sometimes I've cleaned other people's stations at work. I'm like, we're gonna clean the station. We're gonna organize your kit. And it drives me crazy. And of course you hear the things about people who don't have organized and clean kits.
Right.
Or, Chucky's always running home to reorganize his kit or have his assistant help him with that. I find being organized and prepared helps me not to obsess about what's coming up next. Because I don't always know what's coming next. And of course, it can be at a moment's notice and, I wasn't prepared to fly tomorrow. I was really planning to clean up tomorrow. So I'm for me, I find beauty in organization and I'm not a hoarder. I'm not someone who keeps a lot of things. If I do, I keep it in storage. I like a very clean atmosphere.
I'm a hoarder.
You need a storage unit. I can help you with that, Derek. I will come over your house. What do you hoard, though? What do you hold on to?
I have mail from 1990.
Okay, so I'm going to come over with a shredder.
Probably need to.
But what are you holding on to?
Because I'm nervous. I have personal information on it, and it takes a while to sit there and shred it.
No, it don't.
I'm not that bad of a hoarder. You can sit in my apartment. Like, we ain't got to push stuff out the way to make space. We have in the past.
So what's the one thing? What's the one thing you have to tackle today when you go home?
I have a cleaning lady.
Okay,
so
but I clean for my cleaning lady.
See, I don't
organize.
I do that because I don't want her to think I'm a slob. But that's just like dirty stuff. I don't do that for everything.
But there's a way I like my clothes to be folded, so I put them away. I do laundry.
Oh no, but then what's the purpose of the cleaning lady?
She's there to clean. She's not my maid.
No, I need her to do all of that. So I need her to do that. So she folds, but I did, can I say, and she was very surprised that I had organized everything because she was just folding stuff and just putting it in a space. And I was like, no, this will be sweatsuits, this will be my jeans.
That's organization.
But I just did that
You're leveling up.
I'm trying.
Organization is beautiful to me. I love, beauty to me is being thankful and showing appreciation. I love a handwritten note card.
Oh.
Anyone who knows me, knows that I think I find beauty in intention. Whether it's the smallest, silliest gift or something, something that you love or food or whatever that may be. I learned the art of a note card from Vanessa Williams. She was one of the first people. I have tons of note cards from her. Halle Berry note cards from her. I find it so special.
Person too.
I find
if you go to her birthday party or do anything, she's gonna send you a note.
Scorpio.
Whoopi's
a Scorpio.
Yeah. I hate you, and I love you all at the same time.
Back at you,
Sam. We could really go on. There was really so much because when you talk to someone with such an amazing career as yours, it's sort of hard to pick. Like you're like, how do I condense this in an hour? And there's really not enough time. But I'm so glad we finally at least got something. And your story is so inspiring.
Thank you.
And I do this show because I want people to walk away encouraged. So what would you encourage someone? Well, give me some parting words. Give me some, what do you tell the people?
That we're oh my God, we're all the same. We're all juggling lack with joy and gratitude. We're just trying to throw more balls of gratitude up to juggle than those of lack. I think that the more we can live a bit more in the gratitude, even if it takes writing a list, everyone has their own way. I have to remind myself coming to interviews like this, I have something different to impart. Every time I teach a class and you see the same 2 or 3 or 5 people who love you and keep showing up,
and don't miss a class,
they're going to get something different.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself of that. And that something I'm saying, I'm going to impart it in a different way and they're going to hear it, or they're going to hear it in a way that they can really embrace it today. And when I say that I'm unemployed, and when I say that I'm waiting for the next call, it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. And I want everyone to know that no matter what level you get to, busyness isn't the goal. The goal is to have more work that you feel connected to and that you feel more satisfied about the work that you're doing. It's not more clothes, more shoes, more things.
No.
It's feeling more connected. I love going to work and seeing Vanessa. I love going to work with someone new and discovering how they tackle their craft. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And so my advice in a nutshell is, live in gratitude. I know it's easy. It sounds easier than.
No, it doesn't sound easier, but it's something you have to fight to do.
Yes.
Fight to do.
Yes. And in an industry that will not pat you on the back, that will not affirm you at all times.
Or they will. Even when they pat you on the back, I just want to say this. T.D. Jakes preached a message one time, and it sticks with me. He said, when they celebrate, you keep walking. So that way, when they talk bad about you, you still keep walking.
Yes.
Because you can sometimes get caught up on the accolades as well as you can the downfalls that people are talking about. So
yes.
It's keeping focus on what you are trying to accomplish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being intentional. If you're satisfied with one client, then who am I to tell you that you should, you need 5.
Yeah.
You need 5 more to be a success. You create that idea of success especially as we're taking this message to people who aren't in major markets.
Right.
I'd always taught and talk to people about working at local news stations and working local theater, and there's always a place where you can get fed.
Yeah.
You don't have to do what I'm doing to get fed.
Right.
And I think comparison, we all know, is a thief of joy.
Yes,
we're just trying to find more joy in what you're doing.
True that. Oh, thank you, Sam.
Yes, ending this on joy.
Ending this on joy. Yes. Listen, where can we find you? What are your outlets?
Instagram, I am Sam Fine.
And is your book can we still order your book?
Amazon, you can get new and used.
Okay.
You can get new and used issued copies, but it's no longer in print. That is, I want to say it'll be 24 years old.
Let me tell you, Morel Hollis, when I was telling him I'm finally interviewing you, he was talking about the fact that your book was the beauty Bible for him. So many people, every artist that I told them, they were like, Sam's book was what I would go to.
And when you hear something like that, being able to, and it really has less to do with teaching those artists as them being able to see themselves and their clients, and also giving them permission to dedicate their career to women of color. Mm-hmm. Because before that, crossing over
was the goal.
And
that's when you made it.
And the idea that you can be successful working at the Wendy's show and have a client and become union, invested, and have a pension and all of these wonderful things and love on a client. I feel like that book gave so many artists the permission to work at their own pace with the people they know and love and not change who they are.
I agree. I love that. And so, all right, you guys, thank you for watching. I don't know how to end it off with that. That was so lovely. I felt
No, it's just, like you said, it's just
beautiful.
more and more and more that comes out of all of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And so I'll end it by thanking you for having me. And this was long overdue. And then I'm so happy, and I can't wait to see who you have next.
Oh, well.
Because I stay watching.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for watching. Much love.
Behind the scenes, beauty.